At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Okay, well, I guess we're back. Back from our spookiness. If anybody hadn't had a chance yet, we do have ballots over there. We'll give away a t-shirt just before 9 o'clock, so help yourself. Put your name down. We won't stalk you or anything. Like, if you have any stories to tell us, leave a phone number. I mean, that'd be great. So yes, on this portion, again, talking about the King's Head Pub and the history, we know that this place is, haunted. And coincidentally enough, when I was talking before, or when Ashley was talking, I heard noises behind me here. And a lady at the back table there was saying that she did see the curtain move. I don't know if anybody else witnessed that too, but it is what it is. So Kelly put one of her K2 meters down there. So if anybody sees it going red, you'll let us know. And I'll be out of here. Anyway.
And I'll be running for my equipment.
Yeah, she'll be grabbing the equipment. I'll be running for the door. No, I'm just kidding. I'm actually pretty, I've had enough experiences where things won't faze me. Like, people will be jumping out of their skin, and I say this now, but I'm usually pretty good with stuff. Anyway, whoops. At this point, we would want to encourage anybody that has a story. We talked to a few people in the crowd that said they don't mind coming up and telling stories. If we could start with Terry. Terry, would you mind coming up and sharing your story at the Vaughan Street Jail?
Thanks, Terry.
Hi, so my name is Terry, and I worked for the justice system for 30 years.
Wow.
And I had periods of time where I worked at the Vaughan Street Jail, if any of you have taken a tour there. But more interestingly, I work in Headingley Jail. And whether you know it or not, Headingley Jail is the execution center for Manitoba. They executed over 30 inmates in those glorious years of no rehabilitation. And sadly, there was probably even more suicides in Headingley during those years. So it's a very strange place at night. Everything from when you're making a security round, walking through the ranges, you can feel somebody run up behind you. And many times you would have what was called a punch clock. And you would never wear the strap around your neck. You would have it wrapped around your hand. And the sensation of somebody running up on you was so strong, you'd spin around looking to hit them. And of course, there's nobody there. I have a great story for everyone.
Oh, trick.
There was I'll set the stage for you. If there's an area at the prison about as big as this hall, one section was a medical section. And then the next section was a psychiatric section. The psychiatric section was just individual cells. There really wasn't a lot of help for mental health thing. In the medical section, there was an inmate we'll call Fred. Fred was in the process of dying. And he had a guard that always used to talk to him all the time, and we'll call that guard Jim. So Jim was checking on him one day, came in on day shift, and sure enough, Fred is dead. Okay, so we'll move along. We have another inmate who has brain cancer, and our genius justice system decided that a man dying of brain cancer for breaking into a house needed 2 years in jail. So this fellow was basically receiving a death sentence. So he had spent some time with us in Headingley, and he got to the point where he was so sick, we had to send him to the Health Science Center. We figured we'd never see him again. Well, he started acting up. Part of his brain cancer, he would act out. Not by he wanted to, but this was part of his health. Believe it or not, he was sent back to spend his last days of his life in a prison. So Fred's in the prison, and he's dying. And he's locked in a psychiatric cell, so he has virtually no comforts in life. So he goes off into, as people do with brain cancer, his suffering, his babbling, his carrying on, as somebody does. And it was very, very sad to see. So now I'm going to go back to that guard, Jim. So Jim goes into the psychiatric center, and he's checking on this inmate, and he's saying to him, "How are you doing?" And this inmate turns around in his delusions and everything else and says, "You're Jim." Well, I was just talking to Fred, and Fred said, "You're a good guy." So Jim's standing there. This is like 3 o'clock in the morning. How would you know this other inmate? How would you know anything about whatever went on with this other inmate? So Jim came out of there, and he's a guy that didn't believe in any of this stuff. And for the rest of his career, it was, what the hell? And so for the rest of us that worked in corrections, and we saw that there was these situations where we would have people.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
And we would have these situations where there was things going on in the jail, very much became believers. Now, very recently, my father-in-law passed. And I have no doubt from my experiences in a filthy jail, that he's in a much better place, and he's with his wife for how many years. That there is something beyond what we know. So, whether any of this sounds like real to you, or whether it just sounds like bullshit, whatever. But that's been my experience working in a prison. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, like, I mean, how can you dispute that? That's awesome. I was going to make one other comment about, I knew somebody that was in Headingley for a little while. No names. And they would tell me, you know, they weren't in isolation or anything like that, but they would be with, you know, I guess, get forward to a cell. I can't remember what they told me, but in any event, you know, there's some nights that he'd be laying there and just, you know, thinking about things or whatever, and quite common, he'd hear a noise and he'd actually see, I know you don't like the orb thing, but he'd see like a ball of light go through his wall, the cell, and go out the other way. And he was perplexed, but he was comforted, but he knew that he wasn't alone in that jail cell, like, because there was like spirits of the departed. And all this kind of stuff. So yeah, like, I mean, spirits are everywhere, right? So yeah, totally for sure. Anybody else want to come up and share a story? Karen? You want to? She's got a good story. She's got a couple. We've had her on our podcast before, and she's got UFO stories. So, ooh, nice. Not putting you on the spot or anything. 3 beers in, it's all good. That's it?
No, I'll stand.
Okay, whatever you prefer.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, hi, I'm Karen, and there's my daughter Pauline. And anyway, my first experience with UFOs was when I was a teenager and in high school, grade 9. And I grew up on a farm, so my mom and dad were harvesting, and I decided, well, I'll make supper for them and take it out to the field. And so while Dad was eating, I hopped on the combine with Mom, and we're on the combine, and you know, the farm is over there, and all of a sudden I see this light come from the sky, and it was the same colors as up there, but rotating. And it was above the road, and it went from where we were from the sky down, followed the road up until past our place to the Broken Head River. And I told Mom that. I says, oh my God, that's a UFO. And well, my mom's from the generation that those kind of things don't exist, eh? And so a couple of weeks later, Mom then told me they had talked to their neighbors, Julian and Vicky, and Julian had an interesting episode where he is on the road going to the river, and there's a UFO came down and followed the road, and he went after the UFO and followed it to the river, to the bridge, and it turned to the river and just followed the river around the bend. So that was my first experience. And then a number of years later, my husband and I, we have a fire pit, and my sister and her husband came for a visit, and we were sitting around the fire pit, and we were talking about UFO experiences and blah blah, other people that they have heard and our experience. And I leaned back in my chair and I looked up at the sky, and it was cloudy, intermittent cloud, you know, and the moon was out. And so every so often the moon would shine through. And I'm looking, and the moon, the clouds parted, and the moon was there, and all of a sudden I see 5 dots, and they were like playing tag. And I told my husband and my sister and brother-in-law, look up there where the moon is, that you'll see those dots, and those are UFOs, and they're flying around there, you know, and they couldn't see it, but it was like as plain as the nose in your face. I mean, you couldn't miss it. And so that was then. And I have a friend now, and we go, she's experienced UFOs, and so we decided to hop in the car, because she has done this with another friend, but she got too scared. So I said, okay, I won't be chicken, I'll come with you. And we were driving around during the night, and she would point out hot spots, And now this is down the 44 Highway East, going to Lac de Bonnie. And so we're traveling down there, and we stopped because I spotted some movement. So we stopped to see, is it a plane or is it a UFO? And she has a thing on her phone that tells you what's planes are up in the air or whatever. And so I started taking pictures and couldn't make out anything. So anyway, we carried on. And we stopped about 3 times. And afterwards, when I got home, I started looking at my photos, and sure enough, there was one with 3 lights. And then there was another one, a video moving along, and it had lights. And I had a really good one, and I buggered it up on my phone, a video, and it too, you could see it going across the sky, and it was lights as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But ghost stories, if I can just mention one that I haven't.
Please do, yes.
My dad had passed away, it would be almost 10 years now. And my mom was 91, she's passed now, but so she at home by herself, and so my sisters and I would take turns going and helping her. Housework and all that kind of stuff. And so my job was doing her hair. So anyway, when we were finished, we were having coffee, and she said, I had a really interesting visitor last night. And I says, what do you mean visitor? And she says, I had a visitor. I was in bed, and she slept with lights on. There were lights on in the bedroom, lights on in the hallway, and lights on in the bathroom. And she says, and it just was at the foot of the bed, and it was bright. It was just white at the foot of the bed. And she says, she looked at me, and I says, you know what? Maybe that was Dad just checking on you to make sure you're okay. And 3 weeks later, she died. So,
I know.
there you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much. Anybody else would like to come up and share? One of the ladies back here said they've got quite a few stories. Not to out you, but care to come up? No?
Come on up.
Is this the morgue story?
I don't have any from the morgue.
But you said that one creepy thing.
That was more creepy people than
Okay.
ghosts, I fear. This was actually out when I was going to school in Ontario, but I was walking to a class, and I was outside, and there was a building that was all made of glass, so you'd be able to see your reflection in it. And so it was in the middle of the day. I believe it was during reading week, so there was virtually no one on campus, just pretty much me and the work staff. And so I'm walking past these buildings, and I check the glass to see if there's anybody behind me, just because I'm a paranoid person. And I look, and there is a man walking in step with me, and he has a cane and a top hat, and he's walking he's got a little bit of a pimp walk going on. And I was like, how did I not notice this person before this moment? And so I looked at over my shoulder, and there's no one there. I look back in my reflection, man's is still there. And so we walked for about 3 feet before I looked back, and pimp walking guy is gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Short story, but that's all I got.
Very cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Anybody else have any stories to share? Safe environment. No judgment.
I had a couple questions.
Oh,
Yeah.
please,
I just
yes.
wanted to know if the neighbor who saw what you saw described it the same way.
The neighbor
The neighbor who saw
the UFO?
Yeah,
Yes, identical.
identical.
Yes, down the road, he went after it and it was hovering over the road. And he followed it to the bridge and then it turned and followed the UFO turned and followed the river.
Okay, and the second question would be,
Same colors.
when you said that you saw the 5 lights by the moon,
Yes.
did the people with you not see it because of the cloud covered it again, or
No.
they just, but you
No.
could still see it?
Well, I'm explaining to them where it is. You know, I'm describing the clouds and the moon is there, so they are just maybe, I would say about 4 o'clock.
And they couldn't see it.
I couldn't see it, but they were like 5 little dots just buzzing around, you know? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? You want to come up?
No, I'm just going to add something to my mom's story. So,
Sure.
20 years later, I see the same thing as my mom. Only I see them. I'm in the same location as my mom,
Right.
and in the distance, I see, the circle with the lights, identical to what my mom described, was up there, and it was one moment here, the next moment it was like way over there, and then way over there again, and it just went boom, 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 and I'm like, oh, this is not normal,
Right.
because you don't see things with that kind of color, and you just telling that story made me go, whoa, I can't believe we saw that.
Coincidence, yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
And it's also close to the Whiteshell and Falcon Lake where all that craziness
Yeah.
happened, right? So
Yep.
maybe there's a little hot spot there.
You bet. And plus out in the country, I mean, when you're out in the countryside, you're going to have probably the best opportunity to see stuff, right? As
Yeah.
opposed to with the
Yeah.
city white lights and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, awesome. Thank you so much. Would you like to share some of your stories, Ash?
Sure.
Kelly?
Which one should we share?
You gonna talk about your house?
Sure. The way I got involved with Winnipeg Paranormals, I was actually a client. So myself and my husband were living in a house. We had moved in when our son was about 1.5, 2. And I always start by saying, we lived in an apartment before that. And we had hung blankets over his window, so his room was always pitch black. And that is important to the story. So we move into the house, he gets his own bedroom, the windows just covered by blinds, nothing major, just enough to keep your street lights out, normal blinds and that. And after a little while of living there, he starts to ask us for a nightlight, and we're like, well, what's going on? Why the nightlight? You had this pitch black room before, and now you have more light now, but what's going on? And he looks at us just straight faced, kind of why don't you know this, Mom? The dark man comes out of my closet. I was like, okay. So we got him a nightlight, and then we started noticing things pick up a little bit more, noises that we thought were just the house settling, or we were in a side-by-side, so okay, well maybe that noise is the neighbors. We started to realize that these noises were not what we thought. We started hearing what sounded like a dance party over our heads when we were in the basement, and there was nobody up. Our youngest was born, and he, do the mom thing. I'd take him out into the living room in the middle of the night and, give him his bottle, and I'm rocking in the chair, and, you do the arm test, right? Moms know that, right? He's falling asleep, and you do the arm test to see if they're actually, out. And so, give it another couple minutes after I do the arm test. And then all of a sudden, his eyes just open wide open, and he's looking over my shoulder, and he's laughing at something. It's like, okay, I'm getting creeped out. You can go to bed now. yeah, we had our radio turn on by itself a couple nights in a row. And we realized that an alarm had been set for this, our radio. And normally you'd say, oh, well, that's normal, right? Whatever, kids played with the remote or the buttons. But the only way to turn an alarm on this radio was with the remote control that we had lost when we moved. So.
It was an awesome house.
Yeah, and then the one thing that really kind of cemented it, we have to get somebody in here, was when I was laying in bed one night. Kids were asleep. I think you were downstairs or in the bathroom or something, and I was laying in bed, and something sat on the bed beside me, and it was heavy enough that I rolled to the middle of the bed, and there was nothing there. So, yeah, I contacted Winnipeg Paranormal Group, and Kelly came out along with some of the other team members, and you feel up to telling your story on that side of it?
Sure. My voice is a little hoarse, so sorry. Yeah, so this was early on when I really just started investigating with the team. And I was still kind of questioning things, even though I had experienced different things in the past. I was still kind of like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? I wanted to believe. I wanted to know that some more validation. So we were at her house, which, first of all, it was a very strange house. It had this weird hallway that it kind of had a fun house effect. Everybody was afraid to walk down it. I didn't care because I was always like, yay, this is scary, I'm doing this. Which is funny because somebody said, you're so tiny, and I'm like, yeah, that's it's usually the tiniest ones that are a little braver than because it was me and all these big guys at the time in our group. So we were investigating. She had told us different things, and we're always worried when there's little kids involved because we want them to feel comfortable in their own homes. We don't want them being scared, right? And we did call it the Dark Man case. And so we were all in her bedroom by this time. It was probably 2 or 3 in the morning. We really didn't have any activity yet, as of yet. And we didn't have a lot of equipment back then either. And some of the equipment that we did have, stuff was losing its charge. Of course, that's when things start going off, right? And one of the investigators that was next to me started hyperventilating. And I was like, are you okay? Are you okay? And he was pointing. And I guess when he tried to get his composure, he said something was grabbing his hand, and then another investigator across the room, he just turned white as a ghost, and he said something grabbed him, and I looked up into her ceiling, and you know that movie Poltergeist? Has anybody seen that movie? I love that movie. But because we always check windows, we want to explain everything away first. We have them turn off things. We have them turn off the internet. We see if there's any heat or air conditioning running. But there was that scene. This is what it looked like to me. That scene in Poltergeist when it looked like that cloud that went into the ceiling. Do you guys remember that? And things were falling through it. That's exactly what I saw in her bedroom. And I was like, I'm trying not to swear right now, but yeah. So I was more excited than freaked out. Everybody else was freaked out. So one of the investigators that was touched never investigated with us again. I guess he didn't expect to experience anything. You don't know how you're going to react until it happens to you, right? For anybody here that has experienced those things, you don't know how you're going to feel after that. Are you really wanting to do this? But in that moment, I thought, okay, well, we don't have any other equipment on. I'm going to grab my phone. And I took a bunch of pictures. And in one of the pictures, it looked like there was a little girl standing on her bed. You could see the outline. It looked like she had a nightgown on. And one of the other investigators later on, when I was like showing them this picture, he said, I didn't want to tell you guys, but I knew someone who lived in that place previously, and he said he used to see a little girl in the basement walking around, and it really freaked him out. And I was like, holy crap. It was total validation for me. And another time we went back, because we went back several times, and that's usually how the cases go on like what you see on TV. You're usually going back at least 2 or 3 times for investigations at people's homes. Another time we recorded a voice that it always seemed to be in that bedroom. I mean, there were noises and stuff in the basement as well, but there was a little girl, like a little girl's voice, like you could hear it outright, just like sitting next to us.
Yeah, there was a loud sigh.
Yeah, so we got a lot of like female, young, but we can never, there's a lot of hard information to find.
Yeah.
But it was nice to at least we had that recording of that, and then we had the picture, and yeah, that was one of the first really good investigations. That's what really pushed me over the edge. I'm like, I'm in. I'm all the way in, 150%.
Yeah. So that was our story. You have a question or story?
Question.
Sure.
Did you get rid of what was happening? Did it stop? Or did you have to move? Or like what happened?
We moved, but several years later. So we kind of just made an agreement, like, you don't bother my kids or me, and you can stay.
Most of our clients don't want to get rid of it. They actually, they say that they just didn't want to feel like they were crazy, and they said they'll respect whatever lives here. I know that there was one investigation where we were both on that was pretty intense. I got physically sick and dizzy. She didn't feel well in some aspects, like I had to actually leave the house for a few minutes to get myself back together and go back in. And the clients didn't want to do anything because it scared them so much. And I had seen them a few years later, and they said they just sold the house. They just didn't even want to deal with it. So these things can be pretty intense. It can scare people so much that they're just like, I'm done, I'm out, see you later.
Do you ever get new owners contact you about the same house?
We've never had anything like that. We have had clients who have moved themselves, and they've contacted us again in their new home.
Like the spirit followed them?
Yeah. Sometimes it's not that it followed them, it's that it was already attached to them. So, for example, if somebody's a medium and maybe they're not aware of it, or maybe they don't acknowledge it, there's still a beacon out there, so they can bring stuff along with them and not even do it on purpose.
I have another question.
Yeah.
When you said you heard a little girl's voice, was that on a recording that you heard it, or did you actually hear it?
No, we could hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was both. So they
Did you know
captured.
what they were saying?
They were
or
just,
no?
it was just like a sigh. Like I was sitting here and somebody else was sitting here. It was, and all of a sudden we could hear
A little girl like just
In between you two.
in between us, as if like, because I have kids, and it sounded like,
Yeah.
somebody's kid. We were just like, oh, did you hear that? We're just like, hello. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Yes. Oh yeah, you have a story? Come on up.
Hello, what's your name?
My name's Layla.
Layla? Hi, Layla. And what's your name?
Samara.
Hi, Samara.
Go ahead.
So, just for a little bit of context, my house that we live in now is over 100 years old. It actually used to be a doctor's office.
Okay.
Was one of the first doctors in Transcona, actually.
Oh, cool. Wow.
And so there's been a lot of activity there. I think the person that got the worst of it happened to be my brother. He would sleep down in the basement, and every single night he would claim that somebody was trying to like grab him. He would also complain that there was somebody down there playing the drums, because we used to have a drum set down there. Nobody was down there, except for him, obviously.
Right.
And these are just like a little bunch of short little stories.
Yeah.
There was one time my mom was doing like, she does a lot of like Cricut stuff, like the arts and crafts. There was one time she was doing that in the dining room, and she left to check on something that was in the other room. She came back and her tweezers were sticking out of the back of the chair.
Oh.
There was one time, this one was actually something that I saw. We used to have like a little kind of like living room near the kitchen. Mm-hmm. So I was walking out there, it was like maybe 10 p.m. And I look out the window and I saw my dad standing out there.
Oh. So
I'm like, okay, that's weird. So I go upstairs. My dad's not in the bedroom, but my mom is. I'm like, why is he outside? She says to me, he's not outside, he's in the basement. But yeah, I very clearly saw my father standing outside, like through the window.
Right.
Yeah, so that was kind of scary. There's also just been a lot of like just items moving around. As I was telling you, I have this doll. Her name is Theodora. She is she told us she was about like 10 years old. We were doing the Estes method. She actually told us how she passed away. Unfortunately, it was due to a hunting accident.
Oh God.
But she actually likes to play with, because I have a collection of Monster High dolls.
Oh yeah.
She likes to go around and play with them. She'll move them and all that. Mm-hmm. It's actually really cute because I love the fact that she enjoys them and that she feels comfortable enough with me to play with them. Mm-hmm. I've actually also seen her. There was one time I woke up and there was just this girl just standing just beside my bed, not doing anything, just kind of looking at me. None of the spirits that I've had experience with have ever been negative towards me, at least. Mm-hmm. So she's just kind of standing there, and I look at her, I'm like, okay. I just roll over and go back to sleep.
Right.
Yeah. And do you want to talk about what you've seen?
Sure. There's like plenty. So I'm always at Layla's house, and there's a time where we were in the living room, and we noticed the dog was kind of like acting weird. And so, what's that thing that we use? Necrophonic?
Yeah.
It's like an app that was it the girl that created it?
Yes.
They
so
have
we
that one
use
too.
it. Yeah, you use it too.
Necrophonics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the app? What are you talking about?
It's an
Necrophonic.
app that, it's like a spirit box, but it's called Necrophonic. You can download it on your phone and it works the exact same as like a spirit box would.
And what does the spirit box do?
Basically, a spirit box it goes through different radio frequencies and it can pick up like different words. So if a spirit is trying to contact you, they can manipulate, depending on their energy levels, can manipulate the radio frequencies to make out words.
It's like a modified radio.
I don't have it on mine.
Not like if it's not the app, it's like we use it and it just looks like a little like Radio Shack radio, and it will go fast or slower, frontwards, backwards.
Maybe you can try it after. See.
Do you have Necrophonic
Do you have it on your phone?
Or is it on the other one?
It's on the other one.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
You probably do.
Good. So we just started using it, and this is how we call it the Bean family for a reason. It's a bunch of these friendly spirits, and there's this one girl. She's older. She was like roughly like mid-20s. Yeah, mid-20s, and her name is Michelle. I've seen her, in fact, actually. She was in Layla's room. It scared the hell out of me, I'm not gonna lie. But she was talking about how much she actually loved Layla's animals, and there's a specific couch in Layla's living room that she loves, and it's called the red couch because it's mainly red. And she told us she was gonna go sit there and that she wants to pet Layla's dog, Lily. And Lily got up. She was like near you, I believe.
Yeah.
And she went over to the red couch and she like right beside it.
Wow.
And then, so Lily, she only has 3 legs, and sometimes when you pet her, you can see her stomach moving. When she went and laid down, her stuff started moving like somebody was petting her.
Aww.
You know how like dogs get excited
Yeah.
and they like, you know, take their leg.
Yeah, it happens quite a lot actually. They really love animals.
Aw.
Oh, yeah,
It's beautiful and sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's times where like when we use the app, we hear really negative things. Like one time, we had to stop this because it was very like, it was speaking Latin, and usually when things speak Latin to you, that's no good. You immediately want that out of your house, guys, out of your house.
My son speaks Latin. Is that bad? Should I kick
No,
him
no,
out?
no. But like usually,
You're out of here.
usually when
They just didn't sound human.
Gotcha.
yes, it usually was like, for example, like Christians and everything, when there's like a spirit is speaking Latin, it's considered like more like negative demon energy, and most likely coming after you. I did end up with scratches on my leg, and that was not very nice. There's
Scary.
also another time where I got an attachment from Layla's house, and it was bothering me. I lived with my auntie at this time, and it would stalk me at night, but it knew I wasn't really afraid of it, so it would attack me in my dreams actually, and it got me so frustrated to the point where I bitched at Layla, and we did some cleansing, and it finally went away. But it's weird because after I also told my auntie, she also witnessed weird things happening around the apartment, stuff moving, and like just hearing things and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, anything else?
How long have you lived in that house?
14 years.
14 years, yeah. And you've always consistently seen things?
Yes.
Wow.
There's actually one more thing. So it all started when I was really, really little, like when we first moved in. I was about 5 years old. Because for the first 5 years of my life, I lived with my grandparents. I was never a sleepwalker, nothing like that. The second we moved into that house, I started sleepwalking and having night terrors.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Crazy cool story. That's scary. It is a great story.
10 minutes
10
left.
minutes
if
left?
there's-
Okay. I want to share a quick story. In preparation for tonight, because it's our first night at King's Head, obviously I tried to prepare as much. And back when we started the podcast, I think it was probably the second year in, somebody reached out to us by the name of Kelly Dreadful. That's his gamer name or something. Anyway, he had stories about, he shared stories with us about the old church in St. Andrews, which was pretty creepy. They recorded voices out there in the cemetery late at night, and don't suggest you do that because that's what they call
Off limits, trespassing.
off limits trespassing. Thank you. We do not recommend that. And then all challantly, he's like, oh, and by the way, I worked at the King's Head in 2003, and I could never go in the basement again because something was watching me and dishes and the whole bit, right? So it was just like, you know. So ever since then, always fascinated with stories about the King's Head because, like, there's obviously something here. It'll be interesting when we play this back or when I edit. Sometimes you pick up things, right? So we've picked up voices at the Dalvenart many years ago, which was pretty cool. Pissed off a spirit there, so I got to go back and make amends at some point. Shit happens. One story I want to share with you, because doing the podcast, you talk to people, and just all of a sudden they'll just like tell you a story, like just you can't reach for the phone fast enough and record it. I did that to Karen at Colleen's house one time. I'm like, let me record that. There's a fellow that lives out in the Winnipeg Beach area that I know, and we're just talking. He knows I've got the podcast, or we have the podcast. All of a sudden he just breaks into song and starts telling me the story. He goes, one time I went camping with a bunch of guys, about 6 or 7 of us went camping out in Nunavik. And he says, we were just coming back from the beach or whatever, and there's a lot of trails, right? Like there's like little hiking trails, and there's like mountains, not mountains, but like cliffs and stuff. And, he said it was like dust time, they were coming back, they were heading back to their campsite, and then all of a sudden everything just went quiet. And everything, like the birds stopped, the wind stopped. It was like they were like in some kind of weird time zone. He said everything just got really eerily still. And then out of nowhere, a girl runs past them, walks past them. And again, like these 6 or 7 guys, they were just toddling along. They weren't running, they weren't walking, but they were definitely on this trail by themselves that whole time. This girl appears out of nowhere. She's wearing like older beach clothes or something like that. And as she's walking by, she says to them, "Do you know what time it is?" And as they're searching for their watches or looking, they look up, she's gone, right? They didn't see her ahead, they didn't see her behind. They're like, that was freaky, because it was timed with everything just standing still and everything quiet. So then they get to the campsite area or whatever, and there's like a park ranger or whatever, and now they're concerned about this girl, right? Because she seemed a little distressed, wanting to know the time, and she's nowhere to be found. Like, where'd she go? Does she wander off? So they tell the park ranger, they're like, there was this girl up on one of the trails. She was there, and then she was gone. We're kind of concerned about her. And then goes, a girl by herself? And they're like, yeah. And then the park ranger goes, what's the date? And they're like, well, it's May 22nd. He goes, oh, May long weekend. He says, yeah, she came back again. She comes back every May long weekend to Nunavik. Apparently 20 years before that, she was some friends goofing around on one of the cliffs or whatever, and she lost her footing, she fell, and she died. And that's the ghost that kind of watches the trails on May long weekend at Nunavik. Ooh. Anyway, cool. Pretty cool. Any other stories before we finish off? We're going to do a draw. Did everybody get a chance to do a draw for a t-shirt? If you want a t-shirt, they're pretty cool. Any other stories? Any other comments? Any other questions for the Winnipeg Paranormal Group? They've got a bevy of experience here. Like, they've seen it, And just to also promote them, they do public investigations. And the nice thing about when they do the public investigations, the locations that they normally work with, any money that they make goes half to, like, say, the St. James Museum. It helps them out, and the other half of the money goes to the group, so they can actually afford to buy newer equipment and gas money to get to some of these gigs out in, like, Brandon and stuff. So, I mean, they're doing this out of the kindness of their heart and out of their time. So I highly recommend, if you ever get a chance to come out to a public investigation, it's worthy, because it's actually pretty cool. So yeah, thanks. Kudos to the Winnipeg Paranormal Group. So I guess we'll make a draw. If my lovely and talented assistant, oh, you have a question? Sorry.
No. Can I tell a story?
You sure? Come on up. Tell a story. Come on up. What's your name?
Jessica.
Jessica. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Jessica.
So about 14 years ago, around this time of year, my dad passed away. But a lot of weird things started happening after he had passed away. So in the house, my mom around that time had washed all the curtains, and then she switched them out. And there was one curtain near the washer that for like 3 weeks, it just kept falling. So if I was in the washroom and the door was open, it would fall. And me and my mom were kind of just like, yeah, it's dead. But she was kind of going through an overwhelming situation at the time, because my dad, she had to deal with the car insurance and all this other stuff that was just kind of frustrating at the time. And so it would fall 3 times during the day, and I have to put it back up. And it was the one curtain that was falling, and everything else was fine. So at one point, my mom was just she just started crying. She was like, George, just help me, figure this all out, because we had to bring his ashes back to the Philippines, and that was a whole thing, because we don't have a Filipino consulate here or something. I don't know. It was a really long process. She had already bought her ticket, so she had to figure that out. And so me and my brother and my mom were just kind of standing there after it fell, and she just pleaded with him, just help me. So after that, it stopped falling. In Catholicism, it is the 40 days after you have passed away, you ascend. And coincidentally, his 40 days fell on my birthday, and my birthday is the day after Canada Day. So at the time, I went to go see the fireworks on July 1st with my partner at the time, and I fell asleep at his house. And probably at around midnight, we heard somebody knock on his window. And mind you, my dad was a very strict man. He did not like me making noise. So he was probably pissed that I was out and not at home. And I woke up and boyfriend, hey, did you hear that? And he's like, I don't know. I think your brother's trying to get in the house. So we both heard it, but nobody came inside the house. And then I got home at about 2 a.m. And I sat on the couch. My dad always had his spot at the other end of the couch. And I turned on the TV, I was having a late night eat, and 5 minutes into this movie, the TV just went completely black, but it was on. It was almost like when you're switching HDMI. And I'm like, what is going on? I turned it on and off. I could hear my mom watching TV in the other room, so I knew it wasn't the cable that was acting up. On, off, changed the input, and then it went from a black screen to red and green, just repeatedly like switching colors. And I looked at the seat and I'm like, I'm sorry I came home late. I'm sorry, I'm not home for my birthday. And I got freaked out, so I turned off the TV and I went to my brother's room, which is right beside it. And my brother came home 15 minutes later and he was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh no, I pissed off Dad. I didn't come home early, like, the TV's not working. He said, what are you talking about? So he turned on the TV and it was fine. And I told him what had happened. He's like, no, the TV does that all the time. Okay. And maybe 5 or 6 years later, I asked him about it. And I'm like, hey, you remember that one time when the TV was acting up on my birthday? He's like, oh yeah, no, it never does that. I was just trying to like, calm you down because you're so freaked out. And then, yeah, so my dad's kind of like always around. One other story that's kind of linked to that was I was living with this boyfriend now at the time, and he was sleeping on the couch, and I was in the bedroom by myself one morning, like early in the morning, and it was 4 years after he passed away. And so I woke up like at 3 a.m. For whatever reason, I had a weird dream, and my back was to the door, which was open, and for some odd reason, like I had the sheets over my head, and I was like, oh, there's somebody standing at the door, and I don't think it's my boyfriend. I don't want to look. And so like I kind of just like looked, and there was a big shadow there, like it was like a silhouette. And I'm like, oh, I'm not dealing with this right now, so I put the sheets back over my head. And I'm like, and I'm rationalizing within like a minute. I'm like, okay, that's Dad. He's here. Why are you here? You're here to pick somebody up. It's either my mom or your brother. It's not my mom's time. I think you're here to pick up your brother. And then I waited 5 minutes. I'm like, are you still there? I'm like, nope, I'm not dealing with this. And I went back to bed. So it went away 10 minutes afterwards, and I kind of asked my boyfriend, hey, can you like just sleep beside me right now, because this is freaking me out. And a week after that, I was talking to my mom, and she's like, hey, did you like hear that your uncle's in the hospital? I'm like, I don't know. So it coincided with the timing of when he went to the hospital, and then, yeah, 3 weeks afterwards, he passed away. So, yeah, so my dad's just around me sometimes. But yeah, those are my stories. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wait a second. I'm going to get you to pick a... Oh, you're too fast. I'm going to get you to pick a name while you're here. All right, thank you. And the winner is... Linda Zacharias. Hey, congratulations. After we're done, we'll invite you over. You can pick out a t-shirt if you care. Thank you very much. And this has been lovely. Thank you for coming out to see us. What was I going to say? Thank you for coming out. We're hoping to have them have us back. So, you know, we love what we do. You know, if you ever have any ghost stories that you want to share with us, certainly please check out our podcast. Again, it's Getting Up the Ghost Podcast, and the email is gettinguptheghostpodcast@gmail.com. Episodes usually every week, every other week. We're doing it for 6 years. And do you have any parting words to say?
Next. All right, so like Jess says, thank you so much for coming out and joining us here. You know, just maybe hint to the bar manager that you really enjoyed it and you want to come back.
On a Thursday, get more people probably. So tell your friends.
But yeah, so just another plug. We have public investigation, the Dalnavert on July 4th. Tickets are on sale. You can find those through our Facebook page. But yeah, we'd love to see you guys out there. Thank you so much.
And also, as we say at the end of every podcast episode, because we're recording, and remember to live every day like it is your last.
But never give up the ghost.
There you go. Thank you. Have a great night, guys. Take care.
I'm like, I can't.
never remember.
I know.
I know it either.
You did well. You did
At least
well.
I got an excuse.
So well.
And also, as we say at the end of every podcast episode, because we're recording, and remember to live every day like it is your last.
But never give up the ghost.
There you go. Thank you. Have a great day, guys. Take care.
I'm like, I can't do it. You never remember.
I know.
I know it either.
You did well. You did
At
well.
least I got an excuse.
So well. Give me time to write.
Yep.
Wow, look at us.